Welcome to Valken. Today, we step into the shadows of the samurai code, where strength is carved in silence and pain is the forge of the spirit. The toughest version of you isn't found in comfort, it's born in movements no one sees. When the weak seek escape, you endure. When others break, you rise. This is the path of samurai, and it begins now. The first and foremost code is the mind of the warrior, Mushin, the empty mind. The samurai trained to reach a mental state called Mushin, which means no mind, a mind free from fear, hesitation, and overthinking. Psychologically, this mirrors what modern neuroscience calls flow state, where action and awareness merge. In this state, the prefrontal cortex, the area that overanalyzes and doubts, quietens down, allowing pure instinct and clarity. The samurai practiced this through endless repetition, meditation, and real battle. They didn't fight with emotion, they fought with presence. To them, control meant not suppressing fear but transcending it. When the mind is still, even chaos bows to it. Which brings us to the next code, the ritual of pain, suffering as refinement. For the samurai, pain wasn't punishment, it was purification. They intentionally faced cold, hunger, and exhaustion to train the nervous system to stay unmoved under distress. Modern psychology calls this exposure therapy, gradual voluntary exposure to discomfort that rewires the brain's fear's response. Each time you endure hardship without breaking, your brain learns, I can survive this. Your amygdala, the fear center, becomes less reactive and your prefrontal cortex takes control. This process builds what psychologists call resistance conditioning. A stranger stress tolerance endure voluntarily and pain becomes strength instead of suffering. Which brings us to the next code, the code of honor, Bushido, the mind's compass. Bushido, the way of the warrior, wasn't just ethics, it was a mental operating system. Its 7 pillars, rectitude, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty gave structure to the samurai's thoughts and actions. Psychologically, this acted as a moral compass, a set of cognitive anchors. When the mind has a clear code, it reduces decision fatigue and existential confusion. You stop asking, what should I do? Because your code already decided it. That stability, what psychologists call internal coherence, the sense that your values, actions, and identity are unified. The unity protects the mind from emotional chaos, guilt, and regret. A code removes confusion, and confusion breaks warriors faster than pain. Which brings us to the next code, the art of detachment. Samurai were taught to accept death before stepping onto the battlefield. This wasn't nihilism, it was liberation. By accepting the worst possible outcome, they removed fears, control over them. Modern psychology describes this as radical acceptance, the practice of mentally embracing outcomes outside your control. When you accept death, rejection, or loss, you neutralize the brain's survival panic. This creates psychological detachment, which gives rise to focus, clarity, and composure. It's the same principle used by elite soldiers and the stoic philosophers, mastery through surrender. Only when a man accepts death does he begin to live freely. Which brings us to the next code, the kaizen spirit, continuous self-reconstruction. Kaizen means continuous improvement. For the samurai, sharpening their blade daily was a ritual, but symbolically it meant sharpening their character. Psychologically, Kaizen rewires the brain through habit stacking and neuroplasticity. Small, consistent improvements from new neural pathways, slowly transforming identity. The modern mind collapses under massive change. The samurai mind grows through tiny, deliberate evolutions. It's the opposite of instant gratification, it's controlled, patient, self forging. The sharpest blade isn't made by force but by constant, patient refinement. Which brings us to the next code, silence and observation. Samurai valued silence as a weapon, it trained awareness, controlled speech, and created an aura of authority. In psychology, silence develops metacognition, the ability to observe your own thoughts instead of reacting to them. This builds emotional intelligence and self regulation, the true marks of maturity. Silence also amplifies perception. It engages the reticular activating system, the brain's filter for awareness. You begin to see what others miss. The one who masters silence never loses control, not of words, not of self. Which brings us to the next code: kill the comfort within. The samurai deliberately trained in discomfort, sleeping on hard floors, enduring cold, and rising before dawn. This was psychological armor. Modern science supports this through hormetic stress. Small controlled doses of discomfort strengthen the body and mind. When you expose yourself to voluntary discomfort, you build stress inoculation. The brain adapts to hardships. The result: the mind stops perceiving adversity as threat. You stop panicking in difficulty and start functioning under it. He who trains in hardship walks calmly through chaos. Which brings us to the final code: the modern warrior. In a world of distraction and weakness, the modern warrior doesn't carry a sword. He carries discipline. He doesn't fight battles of steel, but battles of focus, patience, and purpose. Psychologically, this means aligning the ancient mental codes with modern self mastery. Mushin, the flow state; bushido, moral alignment; kaizen, habitual transformation; detachment, mental freedom. The man who applies these isn't just motivated, he is mentally bulletproof. You can't be broken by the world when you have already conquered yourself.